How is the conference? Do you like it? Good. Is it that's the first day? Oh, so you have 2 more days, right? Nice. The thing is that this is offline, right? Did you miss offline conferences? Yes? Yeah, I'm as well. Yeah, online setup has some pros, but also is difficult to mingle with each other. All right, last people joining. I don't see because there is a light there. Okay, so let's start. So welcome. Thank you very much for joining this session. I know that the conference is just started this today, and I know that you have a lot of experience with the conferences previously before COVID, so you can experience this event. I'm glad to see you all, almost full house today. Today we have 45-50 minutes together, and I would like to talk to you and talk with you and also ask some questions to you about creativity. We are all engineers, we develop our code, but do we use our creativity at work? That's the question that I asked myself, and that was the root cause of this talk. So we live in creative industry, right? IT industry. I think everyone says that this is creative domain. But is it? Do you create tasks at work? Perfect. And do you think your tasks are creative? Perfect. That's very good. Creativity starts with the word creo. And creo, when I check the meaning, is to make grow. So the second question that I have for you is, do you feel that your ideas grows at work? Yes? Some people say yes. I hear some laughing. I know what you are, what you have in the mind. So I would like to tell you that we are only the one who can make our work creative. No business, no clients, no managers. We can do it, and we own that. And today I would like to tell you how to do it, or how to try to do it. Why do we have so challenging conversation around creativity? Because no one teaches us creativity. We don't know how to become creative person. Why to bother about becoming creative person? There are a lot of advantages that we can see. The first one important for me is to feel fulfilled. If I use my creativity at work and I have possibility to use it, I feel fulfilled. Then if you are creative, you can increase your self-esteem. And as a result, your health can be improved. And obviously you can earn more money. This red sign should be blinking. Earn more money, earn more money. But yes, definitely, if you use your creativity, you can be better than other people at work, so you can earn more. Not maybe better, but more. Your service will be more better. To prove that, I have the results from WeTransfer report. They produced a report about creative employees, creative people, and there are a lot of fun facts in the report. The one I found is that 90% of creative employees believe clients play a crucial role in the creative process. So 90% of us means creativity comes from client. We just need to code. And 81% of clients think the same about creativities, which means that 81% of your client can pay more to those 10%, or is willing to pay more to those 10% of employees that are creative. So definitely creativity has some advantages. I was thinking about innovation process, so how the innovation comes up on the world. And this one came to my mind. So how many of you studied automation? Electrical engineering. Exactly. Exactly. Układ regulacji automatycznej, yes, which is feedback loop. Exactly, exactly. I was studying automation as well, and that was the picture that I have in my mind when I wake up during the night, you know. And the other one, which is not here, PID regulator, PID. Right. Some of us know that. Definitely fancy stuff. You need to Google that. So I took this picture that I have in front of me every day, and I found that I thought that at the beginning we have some problems to solve. We have some experiences that we got during our career, and there are existing products, existing areas that are on the market. This block G is the same CPU and the similar algorithms. I call that way our minds. So we have pretty much similar minds to each other. Obviously there are various factors, but overall humans have the CPU inside of us. And algorithms that we use, or our brain use, is pretty much also similar. So how to then produce the innovation results? The innovation results comes from reflection. So we produce something, we observe how it looks like, and then we reflect on it. And this reflection part is the key part in creativity. Some call it genius, some call it chance, some call it moment in time, but definitely this is the part of being creative. Either if you have moment in time, we'll talk about it later, about the space and time, but if you have your moment in time, you can get inspired and you can be creative. And they call it genius, but it's actually about creativity. So this is the secret sauce. This is the secret sauce of creativity. Genius, chance, moment in time, and our ability to be creative. Today I would like to focus on 3 areas. The first one is human. I will spend some time talking about human aspect. Some people say soft skills aspect, but I don't think there is anything soft about them. As Simon Sinek said, I think that's the human skills. Then I would like to talk a little bit about technology and methods we use in our daily life, and a little bit about our brain. So talking about this human aspect, let's think about growing conditions of creativity. This is the lady, Brené Brown. Any one of you knows her? Some of people knows, yeah, I see. Okay, definitely I encourage you to look on the talks that she does. She talks a lot about various different things about courage, but she also talks about creativity. And she said that there is no such thing like creative and uncreative people. There are just people who use their creativity and people who don't use their creativity. Which means that there is a chance that we can use our creativity. Everyone has it in the mind. And she says that key to unlock creativity is our vulnerability. But what that means? What is it, vulnerability? What does it mean to be vulnerable? We may know it from our systems perspective. The definition that I found about the vulnerability in the systems is definitely a flaw or weakness in a computer system which could be exploited to violate this system, as simple as it is. We know that there are some domains in IT which prevents of those weaknesses. We know that there are some vulnerability engineering activities and so on. So this is about our systems. But what about human vulnerability? Human vulnerability is the willingness to show emotion or to allow another people or one's weaknesses to be seen by another people. So basically to show up as we are, with our true selves, with our weaknesses. and we need to have it in order to be creative. Why? Because we will not be afraid of our stupid ideas. We all have stupid ideas, but this is good to think about them, to share them, and to be inspired. And that's why Brenner says that vulnerability is the birthplace of innovation, of creativity, and of change, because we are not afraid. We are not afraid of asking stupid question. We are not afraid of that idea that I just came to my mind is worse than my colleague, so maybe I'll be not sharing this idea. We don't have this this aspect, so we can be innovative. So coming back to our IT world, is Agile vulnerable? It should be. Here you can see the left-hand side of Agile Manifesto, which we all know by heart, I guess. So when we have individuals and interactions, we basically interact with each other. But this is not only about the interactions, this is about being creative in those interactions. Because at the end of the day, our clients and we would like to come up with the great features that will improve our business. Customer collaboration, the same thing. Remember those 81 and 90 percentages from we transfer report. Customer would like to collaborate with us because they believe us, they trust us that we will tell them what to do to earn money, to get the money from the business. Responding to a change, obviously, we need to have courage to respond to a change and to admit, yes, this feature that I was working since 1 year and I deployed to production is useless. Any of you had this situation before? Yes, I see some hands. That's a difficult situation, but sometimes happens. And at the end of the day, obviously, we would like to produce working software. So Agile should support vulnerability and creativity, but does Agile trigger creativity? I asked the question to myself, and the answer is not that I was expecting. For me, there is not much room for creativity in Agile per se, especially when we are doing the Agile transformation. There are a lot of things going on, a lot of talkings about how to transfer teams, what teams should have, what teams shouldn't have. In Scrum framework, for example, we have a lot of different ceremonies and a lot of different aspects, but I didn't find any time for just being creative while software development. When I was working with my Agile teams, I set up the teams in the way that between the first and the second sprint, they had 1 day for reflection. But it was difficult for the client to convince them to pay for this 1 day. He asked me, "Oh, what they are doing within 1 day? They don't have any backlog, so they are just reading the books? No way. How they are sitting on the sofa and discussing things. What kind of things they are discussing? Talking about the movie?" You know, this type of questions were coming from the people who are just paying for the whole business. So I think that Agile lacks creativity. When I think about our Agile world, I see those 4 aspects that we can have. We have market dynamics, because every day new companies are popping up, closing down, new businesses are being opened. So definitely market is dynamic, and we need to respond to that. That's why we work in Agile. We have unknown requirements, right? Did any of you have the situation that client came to you and say, "Oh, could you develop the feature and could you tell me what the feature will be doing?" Yes, exactly. I had a lot of questions like this. Or I had a complaints from engineers, and I totally understand that, "Oh my gosh, this product owner doesn't know what the user story will be doing. I need to come up with the user story for him, that's ridiculous." Sometimes it's difficult, but definitely that's the place where the creativity can be born, if only we have time for coming up, because the creating user story, as you may know, creating user story is not just going to Jira and putting the title. Create 400 user stories and there's a backlog full of stories. Now, user story is actually the first step. So think about what you would like to implement really. What will be a good feature to earn money. And at the end of the day, talking about money, ambiguous estimations. All of us, I know, I think have this question. Okay, nice feature, but how much time do you need? Is it 1 day, 1 week? We don't know. So people would like to know exact numbers when it comes to the money, obviously, but we are not able to give those exact numbers. And we operate in those four aspects nowadays. So Agile doesn't support for me at some point, at the point of time when I am right now, I haven't seen Agile supporting creative processes. Okay, what about software craftsmanship? Do you think that our craftsmanship techniques support creativity or not? My view on that is this ecosystem, DevOps tools ecosystem. There are a lot of tools that I bet you love using, and that's good. The challenge that we have is that those domains on the verticals, like build, test, deploy, and so on and so forth. Because if this is just a domain, and we all use all tools and can work in the different domains, that's DevOps. But what usually is, it's siloed organization. So we have silos, and developers just focus on building software. So building software meaning transforming requirements, user stories to code. And then we have testing team, right? Testing team is just testing the application. And we have operations who deploy, who monitor applications and so on. And that's definitely not DevOps setup. But thankfully, nowadays, people are talking about the silo structure, and we are trying to remove the barriers between those teams or those domains. And then we need to have a trust, because we need to trust, developers need to trust operations, that operations will not break a code, all right? My shiny, beautiful code. Why operations guys needs to do something with that? On the other hand, operations guys needs to trust developers, that developers will be able to deploy the application and to set up the monitoring, for example, in Nagios. So when we have this trust established, there's a lot of talking about trust itself, but this is not the talk for today. Actually, about trust, I will be talking next week on ACE conference. So if only you are interested, I encourage you to join. But today, talking about creativity, this is trust is needed to have the atmosphere of creativity, because if you trust one another, if you trust other functions, you will be able to cooperate with them, you will be able to share your thoughts with them. So this human part contains just, it's sum up to just those two words, vulnerability and trust. And if we have it, our creativity can be unlocked. Let's talk about software practices for a bit. Pair programming. Do you do pair programming? How many of you do pair programming? I see 1, 2, 4, 6, 30 people, 40 people, I can estimate. That's good. Do you like it? Yes, some people like it, some people not really. I can tell you why it's difficult. It's difficult because when you pair program, you can have fear for being assessed. I'm not going to ask anyone, but think about that you develop the code with your colleague who can be more senior than you, who can have more knowledge than you, and then you can have a fear of being assessed. Oh, this guy is assessing me if I'm doing a good job or not a good job. he or she can tell my manager what I've done. And then there's fear of rejection, that and he or she can tell other colleagues that I don't develop so well, and I will be rejected. They will not like me. That's natural. That's human. That's what happens. When we do a code review, in code review, someone is getting the pull requests, and there is a assessment of the code. But someone else can think, oh, there's assessment of me, of the author, what to do. I have to do the code review, and I have to submit my pull request as well. But I have a fear. So basically, what I tell people, it's when you are vulnerable, so you accept that you have some weaknesses, and that's okay. You can be more courage. You can have more courage to do this pair programming and this code review aspects. And when you have pair programming and code review, and you are ready for that, and you just operate in a mode, you can be productive. That's why we set up those techniques like this, to be productive. Fun fact is that always when clients understand that pair programming, when they don't know what is pair programming, they say, very nice, you sound professional, you do pair programming. But then when they find out that pair programming is actually two people working on the same thing and developing the same feature, there's always like, what? I paid twice for my feature? That's ridiculous. Yeah, they do that. Sometimes when I keep talking about quality, about bugs and so on, about technical debt, they may understand that, but it's difficult for them to understand that two people can do the same work. Not even the same, like in parallel, but exactly one thing. But we proved that in the IT industry that this is productive work. But we need to have creativity as well. So I call it, when we have productive work, and this work is not creative anymore, or not creative, it's useless, right? Not maybe useless, but it's not innovative. Our company will not gain more market and earn more money at the end, because we are not creative. But if we are productive and if we are creative, that's where effectiveness starts. So I call it effective work. And then, if you are effective, if your client, if they can understand that you develop the feature within 4 hands, but if you are effective and you are creative and at the end and productive at the end and effective, they can give you the autonomy, because they say, okay, I trust those guys, I see results, they know what they do, I will give them autonomy. And who wants autonomy? Yay, everyone wants autonomy, obviously. Yeah, we want autonomy. So we need to develop our creativity to show, to prove the client that we can get autonomy. But if we show, we will have it. Finally, hopefully. So now I would like to switch a little bit for this creativity part and talk about creative triggers. And to talk about creativity triggers, I would like to tell you something about our brain. Because some people say that we have creative brain or analytical brain. We are creative person or analytical person. But in fact, we have both. Coming back to the Brenner quotation, we have both. So we have creative brain and analytical brain. Obviously, there are no two parts of our brain, and as previously scientists were talking about, there are some areas in our brain, but some of the areas are more responsible or more tend to be more creative, and some tend to be analytical. So this analytical part of our brain that we use on a daily basis at work analyzes differences. So what we do, we get the user story and we check, did I implement it in the past? Do I know how to do it? Maybe I'll ask my colleague because he implemented it in the past. When we need to do the manual merge and need to compare the files, we analyze differences, right? We are very keen on that, and our brain can do it very fast. We process time. If we are on the meeting and the meeting is long and we need to be on the other meeting for 15 minutes, we just process time. Yeah? How much does it take to get those answers from the client? Oh my gosh. So our analytical brain processes time and think logically, obviously. And this creative part of our brain tend to see the similarities. So we are not only focused on differences, but we can focus on similarities. That's why we call it connect the dots. We see the dots somewhere and we connect them to invent something. This part of the brain process a space, and I will talk a little bit about the space in a second. But when you think about space around you, where you are, what's the place here, that's the creative part of your brain. And I have the exercise for you, a very simple one. Look at the picture. And now observe your thoughts, your brain, what it thinks about the picture. My brain thinks, I see the four, I see, my brain will see already 4 items. So I see 3 items. I see 3 holes. I see 3 objects. Does this roller fit to this hole? It looks like it fits, but I would like to take it and check if that matches, right? Or this cube. Is it exactly the size of the hole? Can I put it there? That's type of thinking that I have. Did you have the same or different ones? Ah, exactly. I like it. Creative answer. Yes? Excuse me? Yeah. All right. So that's the type of thoughts we have watching this picture. How about this one? I see already some creative solutions. So for me, I look on it and I process the space. Where it is. Is it North Pole or South Pole? What's the temperature over there? I see the sun at the top. Is it sunrise or sunshine? Are there any houses around? Are there any people? If I will be there, what happens? Will I survive or not? This type of questions comes to my mind. And this is the place where creativity is born. So I don't only think about processing information, but I think about the broader context, about the space, about time. I also can think about, is it now, or was it in the past, or is it the future, far away in the future? So space and time is definitely the trigger of creativity. And why I would like to emphasize and tell you that, because I had a lot of conversation with developers. They were sitting in front of their laptops in the small conference rooms, online meeting, called online meeting, and they were like, I can't find any solution. It's difficult for me, yeah. And they were staring to this laptop. Sometimes some notifications were popping up, and people said, I can't figure out anything. We need to have a space, space to have a room for some inspiration, which means that if you have a creative task or you would like to think about something, you can have a walk, for example. And if you have a walk, you can be inspired by things that are around you. You can, if you are not able to get a walk, for example, you can book bigger conference room, or if you have a terrace, for example, in our office we have a terrace, big conference room and a terrace next to it. You can go outside. It is for us to observe that we can be inspired to notice that there are other things from other domains that can be inspired. When it comes to the time, it's obvious that we need to have more time, but I had a creative workshops lastly, and we had 1 hour to come up with ideas. And the workshop was brilliant, I like it, but 1 hour for ideas, it was like, okay, 1 hour, it's too much. I'll be sitting here in front of the desk and thinking about ideas, oh my gosh. On the other hand, when we started thinking about ideas, it was just 1 hour. We have just 20 minutes and I need to find some idea because my colleague has an idea and I don't have. So that was difficult. So that's why if you would like to find creative solution, you need to book proper time. And I'm not talking about 1 hour or 2 hours. I'm talking about half day, 1 day, 2 days of time. Why? As I mentioned, because we are here and around us, there are a lot of inspiration that we can get out of it. But we need to notice them. Also the movement. The movement for me is very important. When I would like to think about some ideas, for example, for my talks, I go for a walk. Next to Vistula River, there are nice places where I can walk. And I walk and I think. And you can observe that people like me right now, or speakers on the conferences, that they can, I can't go there because the cameraman told me that this is prohibited, so I need to be here. But people are walking, looking around. So exactly that's the movement that I mentioned that speakers can have, because once we speak on the stage, we need to also think about, for example, next slide, what's the next slide, what our next thought that I would like to say. There are a lot of processes in our minds, so that's why movement helps us. And that's why if someone is the beginner, they move a lot, they move fast, they move quickly, because the movement triggers other processes in our brain. Obviously, this is also connected with the stress, but definitely movement triggers other processes that can trigger creativity. Do you remember manual writing? I don't. I'm joking. Yeah, but manual writing is something like this, that you do different thing that on a daily basis, and your brain is switched. Oh, this guy is doing, the brain can think about that. This guy is doing a different thing. I will give him a different idea. Sounds simple, but definitely I encourage to do manual writing. About music. Do you listen to the music while working? How many of you listen to the music? Almost full house, right? And do you recognize the patterns when there is a rock music, where is that very fast piece music? Always rock music, rock and roll. Exactly. For me, when I do the repetitive tasks, or like doing something that I already know and I have to do it, it can be very fast piece music, like rock or other music. But if I would like to think creatively and think outside of the box, I more use jazz, for example, or some low piece. So music definitely triggers various activities in our minds as well. I encourage also you to use it. Obviously not always, because sometimes we need to speak with each other. And speaking with each other is also important because we can get inspired. But at some point, we can be on our own as well. Because one thing is connecting the dots, getting the inspiration, speaking, having the dialogue, listening to the music. But at the end of the day, we need to sit down and reflect what we've just seen. So that's why being on our own is also important. Openness to experiments. Definitely, if we do all of that, and we have experiences, we can also be open to do some experiments and to make associations. So to be inspired. For example, when I'm on the walk, I can be inspired by nature, and can sound silly for us. For who it sounds silly to observe the nature. Come on, be brave. We are in IT. For me, when I was engineer in the beginning and my wife told me, be inspired by nature. I was like, what? Come on. I have my code, I have my laptop, how to be inspired by nature. But there is something in it. You may know what those guys are. Anyone knows? Maybe I get a question. Yes, Wright brothers, they invented the flight, right? So they were inspired by nature, I guess. They observed the birds, obviously, but it was long time ago. Actually, not so long, but but for us it was in history. But right now, nowadays, actually, a couple of years ago, I don't remember how many, but I think around 10, 8, 9 years ago, aircraft industry observed the eagle. And when you see the wing, very straight wing actually in this flight, you see the end of the wing going up. And actually, this is what they've done recently. They call it the winglets. At the end of the wing, there is a moving part, the winglet, because I don't have the photo from 20 years ago, but 20 years ago the wings were straight. For some planes, we can observe that still. And right now they have the winglets, like the eagle, like the eagle here, because it reduces vortex. So the construction of the wing at the end, on the left, your right hand side, you have the wing without the without the winglets, and there is a bigger vortex. And on the left hand side, there is a weaker workness because they reduce the drag, basically. So simple things like observing, and actually at the beginning I didn't know that this eagle has end of the wings going up. Yeah, but simple things like this can reduce fuel consumption. So this is about connecting the dots again. Be inspired by nature, for example, have this space, have this time, and connecting the dots. So right now, coming to the end, I would like to just tell you about creative process, this creative part of our time that we can design. First things first, this is inspirational phase. And this is everything that I was talking about since 30 minutes. You need to plan your time, your creative time. And I'm not talking about meeting. You need to plan when is the day that you will spend for creativity. Why? Because do you remember the times from studies? Any of you are on the studies right now? Oh, I see some people. So you remember the effect of the fridge, right? Or the kitchen. I need to prepare myself for the exam, but let me check what's in the fridge. Maybe I'm hungry. There is nothing. But maybe there is something else. I need to check. So we have this, we disturb ourselves at the beginning of creative process. And I was very angry for myself about that during studies and right now when I prepare myself for talks like this, that at the beginning it consumes 1 hour, 45 minutes, 1 hour of my time to switch off from analysis work and to start creative work. And that's okay. So that's why I'm talking about a longer period of time, because first 30 to 45 minutes, for me sometimes 1 hour, you will lose. But this is not about losing. This is all about getting another context, so recontext you. You need to look to this fridge 4 times or 10 times to prepare to your exam. I would love to speak with the person who haven't done it at pass your exam. So the time. Choosing inspiration space, so I guess space is very important, and it is for you to choose if you would like to spend this day at work or outside of work, for example, on the walk, or in the co-working space, which can be more inspiring. Obviously, you, I guess, need to get manager approval or just notify manager. But nowadays, after COVID, fortunately, people get used to managers, get used to this kind of things. So choose inspiring space. And because there are questions that I've been asked many times about, okay, but I have a colleagues in other country that I need to creatively work on. So my advice is to create hop-on and hop-off meetings. What does it mean? It means that you open up the conference bridge at the beginning of the day. You have 20 people, let's say, on the call, and then you agree that at any point of time people can jump off and jump in. So at the beginning you get a conversation going, and some people say, okay, I will jump off. You switch off for 2 hours, for 1 hour. You spend 30 minutes with your fridge, playing with the fridge, right? And then you come back and say, oh, actually, I'm just recontexting. Do you have any inspirations already? So this type of being free to join and join off and join on the meetings. Make manual notes, as I mentioned. Writing really helps. Writing, painting, anything which is manual, which is different than our daily work. Be inspired by past. So reflect about the past. What you've done in the past. Did I prepare a similar thing? Maybe I can be inspired by past. And also I can be open for a future. So I can think about the future state of my product. Within 5 years from now, what my product will serve. Do I still will be selling what I'm selling, or will there be any other activities that my product needs to do? This type of things will inspire you. Appreciate the silence. Silence is the place where the ideas are born, because your brain catches all the inspiration that got. Incubation phase, some people say skip the incubation phase. I definitely advise you to secure the time for incubation phase, and what I mean by that is just the pause in the creative process. So let's say Monday, Tuesday, you do this thing with the fridge, right? Beginning of Monday, and Monday, Tuesday, you are inventing the ideas, and then you are not just implementing on Wednesday, but on Wednesday, Thursday, you do something else. But you walk with you are with your ideas in the back of your mind, so then you have some time to catch errors in the meantime, to just be there, to reflect. And then on Friday, let's say, if we use this 5 days a week, on Friday you can get finally ideas generation phase. And that's we call the brainstorming, that's we call creative sessions. The challenge with that in IT, but I guess that not only in IT, is that if managers would like to have creative solutions, that just call out the meeting, call it generation phase, and okay, let's generate ideas. We have 45 minutes, maybe 50 to generate ideas. That's difficult. Without those inspirations before that you collected, it's hard to just sit down in front of the post-it and generate ideas. So at the end, actually at the beginning, but at the end of this process, but at the beginning of the brainstorm session, you can have creativity warm-up. There are plenty of creativity activities. Personally, I'll use story cubes. Any one of you knows what that is? Yes, some of you. That's a very simple game. Outside of IT, outside of anything, it's just a fun game, but it can reshuffle and swap your mind to think about different things. And then you need to have someone who will be facilitating creative workshops. Not just a manager getting the ideas out there, but someone who will pay attention to this, for example, creativity warm-up. And keep talking about the ideas, keep talking between yourselves, not to be disturbed with your phone. And the last but not least, do not multitask. Do not multitask. I have exercise that I usually do. Maybe we will have the time for it. So if in your mind you can count from 1 to 10, let's say. Yeah, easy, yeah? And in your mind as well, say letters from A to E. Okay, and now sweep it, so mix it, so say one number and one letter. Any of you did that? Do you see the difference? Excuse me? Exactly, it's many harder, exactly. That's a very simple thing, but shows how multitasking doesn't work. So no multitasking. So to sum up, inspiration phase, you need incubation phase as well, and idea generation phase. And then finally we can go to implement our feature. So feel proud of the work from our let's assume that we've already invented user story, we implemented that, and we feel proud. We have a good salary, but sometimes we need more, and we don't know what that is. And it can be expressing ourselves. And creativity is something that can express ourselves. We can commit ourselves to produce some results. And the way to do it, to go there, to how to express ourselves at work, the way can be the solution that I found. You may have heard about it, Shuhari. Any of you have heard about Shuhari technique? Some of you have heard. Yes, you are well-educated community. So Shuhari comes from Japanese material art, and there are 3 stages basically. Shu is first stage, A high second stage, and Ri is the final stage of getting the knowledge of the material art. The first one is obey the rules. So you need to trust for others. You need to trust others that the rules are there. You will need to skip that. You need to learn how the rules works. And then you can try to bend the rules. And you need to have trust from others that those guys can bend those rules, because they are on the first step, so they can do the next step. And the third step is be the rule. So Ri means be the rule, and that's where you need to have trust to yourself. Because you need to be brave in order to break the rule and to be the rule, to create the rule by yourself, and that's where creativity starts. So those 3 steps can support expression yourself at work. And then you can feel pride, you can feel accomplishment, and that's why self-esteem, when I mentioned at the beginning, is raising, because you feel proud, you feel that I'm the role right now. Yeah? Besides that, it can improve your health, because it can improve the mood, it can reduce stress, reduce anxiety, and at the end of the day, immune system can work better, because you feel better and your health is better. So to sum up, if I would like to wrap up it for just 2 sentences, so the first sentence is, in order to unlock your creativity, it's trust is needed and vulnerability is needed. And all of those aspects that I mentioned, but those are the basis. And I would like to leave you with this quotation again from Brené Brown, that creativity is the way I share my soul with others. So today I had the pleasure to share part of my soul with others, with you guys. I'm really glad for this time, and thank you very much.